Get more out of your news with The 10, weeknights at 10, only on NECN.
Nine o'clock on this election day, and this is what everyone, not everyone, at least Joe Biden and Donald Trump are fighting for. It's a bid at the White House and who will live in that magnificent building for the next 4 years. Our election coverage continues here on NECN. It took a while. We are starting to get results in. 9 o'clock now, so like a majority of the country is done casting their ballot.
Yes, they are. And about the middle swath of the country is closing up those polls right now, and we are going to pay attention to that very closely. We are also watching to who is going to take control of the Senate as well. That's another thing we're closely watching, along with the 2 Massachusetts ballot questions. That's something else that we're hoping to get some answers on as well.
Like I said, 9 o'clock, so not everywhere is getting the numbers in like right away. So that's what we're keeping an eye on. Brian has been looking at all the numbers of the states that have been called so far. Arkansas just went to President Trump as well. This is kind of chalk. I mean, you mentioned it a couple of times, how you describe it. These are all the obvious ones, right? The swing states, none of those have really gone one way or another just yet.
Tim, absolutely right on that. Arkansas. We'll reset for a second. As we see some results getting called from NBC News, we will bring them to you. But Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia to Trump for a total of 48. Then you have 51 for Biden, and it's really the eastern seaboard, to be honest. Maryland, D.C., Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Vermont. And we were just told, according to NBC News, calling New York to Joe Biden. Again, that is no surprise at all. That is 29 more electoral votes. I mean, listen, that's another one. If that didn't go to Joe Biden, the election would effectively be over, but that was expected. So we take a look at the battleground map, to Tim's point, in terms of what we're watching right now. We had Wisconsin, Michigan, and Arizona just closed. We've talked a lot tonight about what that would mean. Wisconsin and Michigan kind of seems to be leaning blue. Arizona is a true toss-up. Let's just say, you know, if they were to go blue, what would it be? It would not get Biden over the top necessarily, but it would get him to 249, which would be a huge bonus for him. The state we're really focusing on now and sort of waiting for is the state of Florida. President Trump did better in Miami-Dade County. If we want to talk about the actual politics about what's going on, we can talk about it. The argument of that basically that Joe Biden was a Trojan horse for socialism, regardless of what you think of the opinion, it seemed to be really effective in Miami-Dade County. And so it was basically a dead heat to Trump a little bit ahead without even the panhandle being counted. So Florida definitely leaning red at this hour, but it has not been called. But when we go to the battlegrounds, that's the one we're focused on. Texas is the other one I want to talk about because clearly if Texas went blue and you had Wisconsin, Michigan, the election would be over. Now, it's basically neck and neck, and there's a lot more to report. Most people, the analysts I talked to, still expect it to go red, but I said it's very much in play, and we don't want to be premature with any of these calls. So, so far, everything's been true to form, but now we have some major states that are closing that should be good news for Joe Biden. Wisconsin and Michigan are the key focus for me there, and the key focus for President Trump is Florida. That has not been called by NBC News yet, but it looks like it is leaning red.
Okay, Brian Shackman out there in the newsroom for us. Thanks so much. And another race that we are still watching, although we have heard from Senator Susan Collins. She did speak tonight, but we're still watching the results of that race for her seat. Yeah,
it wasn't a concession speech, wasn't a victory speech, but she did go out there to thank her supporters and her campaign staff. A lot of money's been spent in this campaign, and it has been close. Of course, Senator Susan Collins, the Republican incumbent, facing off against Democrat Sarah Gideon. No results just yet. Dustin Wilkowski has been following this race very closely for months and months and months now. What's the feeling like at 9:04 tonight, Dustin?
Well, there's certainly excitement, but there's also the expectation that there's going to be either a long wait tonight or a long wait if we go to a ranked choice count. Senator Collins was taking that stage in the past hour. She said that she really wanted to thank all of her supporters for all the hours that they put in, all the travel they did around the entire state of Maine. She went to all 16 counties on buses. So there was a lot of a listing of volunteers who did this and that for her campaign. But she also talked a little bit about how happy she is that the negative campaigning is over, and also stuck to one key campaign message, which is that this campaign is about her and her record.
I don't want to forget my federal staff, who for years have helped literally tens of thousands of Mainers with problems with federal agencies, communities across our state, with economic development projects, anyone who needed help. It's about Maine and Mainers.
And that is the key question, though. Is this really about Maine and Mainers, or is it, as Sarah Gideon's campaign wants it to be, also about President Trump and national politics in the Senate?
In Bangor for us, thanks so much. And also we have to talk to Perry Russom. He's been following Sarah Gideon's campaign, Tim.
Yeah, you know, this has been a close race, and it was kind of interesting to see Collins come out and give that speech a little bit early in the evening. As Dustin mentioned, it might be something that's not decided tonight altogether. So she came out there, gave the thanks. Perry, what's it looking like for the Gideon campaign? Any sign of her coming out and giving a similar thank you speech?
So the last time we heard from Sarah Gideon was at 7:30 on Twitter, asking people to stay in line and vote. Since then, it's really been nothing. The polls have been closed for an hour. It could be a long night. It could be a long next few days. It could be a long next week, all because of ranked choice voting. We are set up to hear from the House Speaker tonight, but it may not happen at all. We're all waiting to see when these results will go final. We want you to remember the number 50%. That is everything. Collins or Gideon has to get to 50. If that does not happen, then we go to ranked choice voting, where last place candidates are eliminated and votes are reallocated. And that has to happen in Augusta and could take days.
As you might know, I do support ranked choice voting, have both endorsed it and defended it in my time in the House. I think if we go to ranked choice voting tonight, then we will all be eagerly awaiting the results. But I do trust the system and our electoral process.
And yesterday we talked to a voter who says she loves ranked choice voting. She says it's a more democratic way to vote, but I'm curious if she also loves this weight that comes with it.
Exactly. That's another thing to be closely following, as well as we look at whether this finishes tonight or in the coming days. Perry, thanks so much. And one of the biggest races this election season in Massachusetts, the race for Senate. Here's a look at where things stand right now. Of course, Markey has won re-election. We've announced that, sailing right past Republican nominee Kevin O'Connor.
Yeah, the bigger story was actually the primary back on September 1st. That was the real close one. Went down to the wire when Markey beat Kennedy, Joe Kennedy III, to score the nomination. This one kind of a slam dunk. They called this within minutes of the polls closing, but still, people have to vote, and they got out there. Malcolm Johnson's been following this race from the Markey campaign live in Malden out there. This must be a sigh of relief. Maybe no surprise, but you never want a surprise on Election Day.
No, I don't think they wanted a surprise, and I think they are very happy with the outcome of this election. As you mentioned, Tim, it was the win back in September by some 11 percentage points over Joe Kennedy III. That was the major win here, and in that win, it was Markey who was able to inspire this legion of young, progressive, Democratic voters by being co-author of the Green New Deal, by having AOC give her endorsement to the 74-year-old senator from right here in Malden. It has been his progressive approach, his ability to build a coalition that crosses age range and races, you name it, that has really been able to give him an impact within these voters. And I think in part what allowed them to call the race so early. The AP calling it at about 8:12. We know the polls close at 8 o'clock. And you had NBC News calling it around 8:04, 8:05. So it didn't take long, with only some 5 to 6% of the vote coming in, before they were able to call this race. It was at 7:55 that I was on the phone with John Walsh. He's the campaign manager of Ed Markey, and they were hesitant. They were reluctant to claim victory early at any point in this race. They said, look, we want to give respect to the voters out here. We're not looking to speak too soon or prematurely. At last, what we've heard from the campaign is that they are going to take the podium at 9 o'clock. It is clearly past that time, but things are fluid, things are moving. My anticipation is that you all will likely be taking that press conference fairly soon, in the not too distant future. As we know, Ed Markey is situated in an office in Boston. They can't have a campaign rally of sorts or a celebration with people, as we are still amidst this pandemic, which they are looking to do as much for people as possible, especially when it comes to a COVID-19 relief package. So we'll keep you updated with the latest, but Ed Markey expected to make remarks fairly soon. We'll send it back to you all in the studio.
Thank you, Malcolm. We'll be keeping an eye on that and take Ed Markey's speech when it happens. The race kind of reminds me a little bit of the Red Sox, right? When you play the Yankees in the ALCS, then you go on to play the Rockies. Like, the tough matchup was the semifinal. And I feel like for Ed Markey, that's what happened with the Kennedy race. When you get to the general election and Kevin O'Connor, kind of a slam dunk in this one. Two different sports analogies. They both work. Our Kat Sotnick is with the O'Connor campaign. A kind of disappointing but maybe expected night out there, Kat.
Well, definitely a disappointing night here for political newcomer Kevin O'Connor. With me right now, I have Wendy Wakeman. You are his campaign manager.
That's right.
This is what we were not hoping for here tonight for Kevin O'Connor.
It is. Kevin O'Connor's a great candidate. He really did a fantastic job given COVID, given the funding disadvantage. Kevin made an impact. He's smart, he's handsome, and he's committed to the issues that we care about. Freedom, liberty, a stronger economy. Ed Markey should have been taken out, and frankly, if it weren't for COVID, I think he would have, despite the funding disadvantage. He rakes in money from all over the place. We're going to look at taking out Markey again, and we're looking at a big future for Kevin. Thank you.
Where do we go from here then?
Well, that's where we go. I think Kevin's got a big future in the Republican Party. I'm going to be encouraging him to run for office again in 2 years, and in 4 years, and in 6 years. He's exactly what we need, a candidate committed to freedom and liberty.
And we're expecting to hear from him momentarily. He is here tonight with his sons, his mom and dad. His dad recently beat COVID.
He did. His dad had COVID back in March. His dad made a full recovery. His mom and his dad are here, his wife, his 4 kids. They are a great family, incredibly committed to making their community better. And I think you can look for big things from Kevin O'Connor.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Wendy. We appreciate it. So, again, a disappointing loss here tonight in South Boston. We are waiting to hear from O'Connor momentarily, and we'll bring that to you as soon as we get it. We're live in South Boston. I'm Catherine Sotnick, NECN.
Okay, Catherine Sotnick, thank you so much. From that election to another, New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu. That race has already been called. Sununu, the projected winner there.
Yeah, and you also have the Senate race there. Jeanne Shaheen also scoring another turn there. Look at this. Again, it's early results, but already the projected winner for Shaheen by NBC News in the state of New Hampshire. So let's stay in the Granite State.
Yes, because it is a big state for both Trump and Biden. You know, traditionally a battleground state, maybe not the most exciting this year, but certainly one that we are watching very closely. And we also want to talk to our Catherine Underwood.
Yeah, some of the state races have been called there, but it looks like the presidential race still up in the air, not decided just yet.
Yeah, and those state races, no surprise there. Those were called early, no big upsets. It's exactly what we all expected. As far as the presidential race goes here in New Hampshire, Democrats today tell me that they are, quote, calmly confident that Biden will take New Hampshire. They say they are proud of their ground game, that it was far superior to what Republicans did during the campaign leading up to Election Day. Now, we saw a record-breaking turnout here in Bedford, about 90% voter turnout. That is unprecedented here in Bedford. And we're seeing that same storyline in cities and towns across New Hampshire. And Democrats today tell me they think that is proof that Granite Staters want Biden.
There's just not Trump and Biden who are on the ballot. Democracy's on the ballot. And as Biden has said, character's on the ballot. I think you see by the turnout today that everybody wants in on that. Everybody wants to say not only who they'd prefer for president, but what kind of country they'd like.
But we talked with some of the Republicans, too, and they're saying the exact same thing. That's why voter turnout is so huge in New Hampshire, because they all want a say. So there will be another perspective from my colleague, Michael Rosenfield, who's with the Republicans in Manchester. So lots of different things to talk about here. And we are waiting for the presidential results in New Hampshire. And Democrats say that because there are so many ballots cast, because there was a record number of voters out here at the polls today, that's why it's taking a little bit longer than it normally does in New Hampshire. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Catherine for now, reporting there in New Hampshire. Let's switch gears for a second here, because Ed Markey has won the race for his re-election bid in the Senate in Massachusetts, and he's about to take the stage.
Yeah, so here he is. Take a listen.
32 years, you have been my partner, my teammate, and my best friend. Thank you for always being by my side. And to Team Markey, from the bottom of my heart, my gratitude. To our fearless leader and the greatest campaign manager of all time, John Walsh, we will forever be grateful for your guidance, your optimism, and your integrity every single step of the way. To Giselle Berry, the brilliance behind our communications and the rock of our operation, thank you for everything. To our Army of a field operation led by the remarkable Rory Clark and Joe Thibodeau, you organized friends, family, co-workers, and neighbors. You made relational organizing a model for campaigns across the country. Because of your work, we had the highest voter turnout in a primary and likely general election that Massachusetts has ever seen. To Paul Bologna and the digital team, your creativity, your passion, and your radical revolutionary attitudes and innovations drove our campaign to new heights. You led with conviction and with humor, and you have forever changed the rules of campaigning. And to the Markeyverse, in each of you, I saw myself, passionate disruptors and change makers, unrelenting optimists, ice cream aficionados. You might be sitting in front of a laptop screen or with a phone in hand, but I know you will never let anyone tell you where to stand. Over the past 16 months, we built not only a campaign, but a real grassroots movement, a movement of progressive ideals and diverse voices, a movement for justice, a movement to dismantle the status quo and achieve long overdue progress for America. We harnessed, respected, and magnified the energy and creativity of young organizers online and in the streets. And when these young people stood up and demanded change, we let them lead our charge. Today, Massachusetts voted to affirm our movement's mandate for change, and I am grateful for that support. And whether it will be later tonight or in the coming days after every vote has been counted, I believe American voters will elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as our next president and vice president of the United States. It will be an historic victory for Democrats, for women, for immigrants, for our young people, for the LGBTQ community, for people of color, for the United States of America, for our future. The young generation has done everything we have asked of them. They have organized, they have worked within our system of laws and placed their faith in our democratic institutions. They have worked tirelessly, idealistically, and optimistically, despite the obstacles stacked against them. And they ask one thing in return: did we live up to who we say we are as a nation? That in the face of this devastating coronavirus pandemic, we passed the largest and most just economic relief package in American history and ensure that families and small businesses make it through this recession with the government by their side. That in the face of the most challenging health crisis of all time, we pass Medicare for all and guarantee affordable health care to every person in our country. We must use science to beat the virus and move our country from peril to progress. And then in the face of the existential climate crisis, our elected leaders listen to the young people demanding change, trust them to lead the way and pass a Green New Deal.
Ed Markey giving a victory speech here tonight. Always kind of interesting in the year of COVID 2020. Instead of a huge hall filled with supporters and campaign staff, essentially doing a Zoom meeting for his victory speech tonight.
Such an odd year for sure, but we want to get back up to New Hampshire because we were about to talk to our Michael Rosenfield just before Markey spoke, but let's get back to him again. Our Michael Rosenfield is live in Manchester, New Hampshire. And Michael, you're talking with Republicans this time?
Hey, Jackie, we are with the Republican Party here in New Hampshire tonight. And as you both just mentioned, most campaign events this evening are virtual or very small because of the pandemic. But here, the GOP in New Hampshire, they're doing more of a traditional get-together, and they're actually gathering as we speak here at the Doubletree Hotel in downtown Manchester, watching the numbers as they come in. And they're hoping Donald Trump can win the state's 4 electoral votes. Typically, New Hampshire is considered a critical battleground state, but this time it hasn't gotten as much attention as it usually does. It could be because Donald Trump's been trailing in recent polls here in the Granite State, and trailing by a considerable margin margin, so we'll see if that actually holds up this evening. We were in Salem earlier today when the polls are open. It's a town that leans Republican, and we found some voters who want a change in the White House, others, though, standing by the president.
Economy is big and veterans are big. Okay, and so far, Mr. Trump has done a great job for the veterans, which is really important.
I like Joe Biden because he stands for the environment. He's for Black Lives Matter. We want to get this coronavirus under control. And just the decency as a human being means all the world to me.
So again, the state's top Republicans are gathering here in Manchester this evening. Republican Governor Chris Sununu has already won his re-election campaign. We expect to hear from him shortly, but so far no decision yet in the Trump-Biden race here in the Granite State. We're live in Manchester tonight. Michael Rosenfield, NECN. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Michael. Let's take a look at the latest numbers from New Hampshire because, as Michael mentioned, too close to call just yet. Again, 57-41 seems like a blowout at the moment, but if you look at the bottom left corner of your screen, only 18% reporting. The numbers continue to trickle in, Jackie.
Yep, we are following it all, and as we're going to leave you on some of the latest results that are coming into the newsroom, but stay with us as we continue to follow Decision 2020.
Get more than just the headlines. Join Jackie and Tim as they take a deep dive into the biggest news of the day.
Here on the 10, we make it our mission to dig a little deeper.
10 straight minutes on the topics you want to know more about.
We want to take a second look at what ranked choice voting is.
Answering all your questions, even the ones you didn't know you had.
Man's best friend, maybe man's best tool in the fight against COVID-19.
Get more out of your news with the 10. Weeknights at 10, only on NECN, New England's Connection.
Do you have a coffee smile? Drinking coffee causes yellow teeth for thousands of people just like you. And whitening toothpaste just doesn't make those stains go away. Introducing Power Swabs, the first teeth whitening system that lifts coffee stains off your teeth in less than 5 minutes without whitening strips or trays. The secret is a tooth detergent and whitening agent developed by Dr. Martin Ginniker that lifts stains off of your teeth. Power Swabs remove stains on natural teeth, veneers, bonding, caps, and crowns. The best part is you just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you'll have whiter teeth. No more sitting at home with a whitening strip or tray in your mouth for 30 minutes twice a day. Call for your 5-minute solution to whiter teeth. Get a beautiful smile this Thanksgiving with a 40% off discount. Plus, get free shipping and a free Quick Stick pen. Visit powerswabs.com or call the number on your screen.
Brett Favre, legendary quarterback. Jerry Rice, legendary wide receiver. When legends play, they wear Copperfit Advanced Back Pro. Copperfit's best-selling compression back support just got better with new double-band adjustable supports for customizable compression when you need it most.
That's what I'm talking about.
4 built-in stabilizing supports designed to improve posture and help reduce lower back stress and strain.
You have back pain and it's affecting your everyday life. Do something. Since I put this on, I feel so much better. The core is the most important thing. To know that I'm stabilized here. Whatever I'm doing, I can give it 100%.
Call 1-800-979-8521 or on the web at advancedbackpro.com for only $19.99.
This does feel good. That's what I've been saying. You think it was fair? It was fun. Copperfit, live limitless.
Back now with our Decision 2020 coverage, 9:24 on this Election Day evening. I want to turn now to election security because this has been on the top of minds for a lot of folks heading into today. So much emotion behind this year's vote. There's a lot to think about in regards to election safety. Joining us now, Massachusetts State Senator Barry Feingold, who's also the chair of the Joint Committee on Election Law. So a big year for you, not just because of potential security this year, but voting amidst a pandemic. And it seems as though 9:24, the polls are closed. Things went fairly smoothly today. Were there any issues?
Things went great in Massachusetts today. So many people had multiple ways to vote. People who wanted to vote today did that. People who wanted to vote early were able to do that. And many people voted by mail, which was very safe and secure. So as a Commonwealth, we should feel great about what happened today with voting.
You know, 6 months ago, a lot of us probably weren't even thinking about the potential for mail-in ballots as an early voting option. You guys put it together awfully quickly. Just to reiterate for folks who may be a little bit like still wondering, what if I got a ballot, mailed it in, and then came to the polls today? There's no way they could have voted, right?
Well, understand, for any reason they did not get the ballot, you could vote, but if it was already recorded that you did vote, you would not be allowed to vote.
How did you guys work it with the signature? I know in some other states there was some controversy, like Pennsylvania, we're talking Texas as well, on making sure the signatures matched and the threat that they're going to throw away tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of votes. It didn't seem like this was an issue here. You guys did a little differently than some other states, right?
Right. The one thing that we didn't allow was just mailing votes out randomly to people. We made people sign a application under the pains and penalty of perjury that this was them, and then they would get the ballot back to them and they'd sign again. So we had basically two authentications that it was them that was signing it, and very important. And I feel that is why we should feel very good about our elections, that they were safe and with integrity.
Senator Ed Markey just gave his victory speech a short time ago. He referenced the record number of votes in that September primary. How much of a help was that for you guys to kind of get that one under your belt before the big election day?
Well, I think it was absolutely critical for our clerks in our cities and towns to go through it. We had a record 1.6 million votes back on September 1st. And my prediction, we're going to go over 3.5 million votes today, which will be the largest vote in any election in the history of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which truly is a big victory for both Democrats and Republicans, and something that we all should feel very good about.
State Senator Barry Feingold, thank you for joining us yet again tonight, and great job getting all of this done in a short time frame amidst the pandemic, with all the concerns about security and everything else. It seemed, at least in Massachusetts thus far, knock on wood, cross your fingers, everything has gone exactly according to plan. Thank you.
And of course, we know that Biden has won Massachusetts, the projected winner, according to NBC News, but we have a lot of other states to get to.
Yeah, interesting one we talked about briefly, or Brian spoke about briefly, when he pulled up that map of North Carolina, the Tar Heel state. When you were looking at the Senate race, the presidential race is a big one to watch there too, right?
Absolutely, and actually that's where we're going to start. So right now, North Carolina, and Tim talked about it, none of the states that have come through are flips. They're all true to form of what we expected and pretty much reflected what happened in 2016. If Joe Biden won North Carolina, that would be a flip, and a significant one. Right now, he's at 50.3% to 48.5% with 80% of the vote in. It's a lead that's basically... It's 86,000 right now. And it needs to be pointed out, though, some of the counties that are outstanding are Trump counties. The question is, what will the margins be in those counties? So right now it says Joe Biden's winning by almost 2%, but it is a little deceptive. And I also wanted to just touch on the Senate race that we were talking about earlier in the evening, because that is an important race in terms of potentially swinging the Senate to the Democrats. And right now, I don't know if we can pull it up. There we go. Cal Cunningham right now at 48.5 to 47.3 for Tom Tillis. So it is very, very tight right now. And they have 79% reporting there. And that's just, we're talking about maybe 60,000 votes. I also want to touch upon a couple other states we've talked about in terms of flipping. I want to, Florida would be first. Let's just take a quick peek at where we stand in terms of updating what's going on in Florida. We had talked about it was leaning red. Right now, that lead has expanded for Donald Trump, 51 to 48. We have 93% expected votes are in. The reason why they haven't called it, we're not really sure. Actually, maybe there's a mail-in vote component they're waiting on. We'll wait and see on that. But this has expanded since the last time we saw it. The other one I want to just touch on really quickly, if you're just joining us, is Texas, in terms of where we stand at the moment here. And again, if by chance Texas went blue, it would transform the entire map. Right now, it's 0.6% lead for Joe Biden with 72% in. We're talking about basically 53,000 votes right now. So this is a toss-up, too close to call. But we bring it out to the broader map, and we just talk about where we were in 2016. I've talked about it many times. I mean, listen, if Texas goes blue and everything else holds true, Biden's at 270 and it's game over. The likelihood of that happening, we're not sure. Florida, it's leaning red. I'm not going to mess around with that. But North Carolina, just to review, if that goes blue and you get Biden at 247 and then Michigan goes blue and Wisconsin goes blue, which some people think might happen, that gets Biden there. And what I want to really talk about, and this is starting to sort of emerge, is Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. This could be the path for Joe Biden. I'm not saying it's the only path, but right now he's doing pretty well in Ohio. Pennsylvania may not be decided for days. And Wisconsin and Michigan, it's too early to call any of that stuff. But in terms of the way things are trending, our focus when we're not on camera right now for Joe Biden is squarely within those 4 states. I'm not saying it's the only path, but right now, guys, it is definitely his best path.
Okay, Brian Shackman there out in our newsroom for us. Thank you so much. And we will be right back, Tim, because we still have a lot more to talk about, including control of the Senate.
Yeah, the Senate is a big talking point tonight. Which way is it going to go? That in the presidential race and all the local races. We're going to get a check in on the ballots, too. There's some ballot questions we got to touch on. Stay with us. You're watching NECN.
Are you ready for winter? Forecasters are predicting a brutal winter this year. The 2020 F-250 with Boss Plow is starting at $40,995. Come see why Stoneham Ford and Watertown Ford are your commercial truck headquarters with over 600 commercial vehicles available.
Brett Favre, legendary quarterback. Jerry Rice, legendary wide receiver.
You ready for your weekly meeting?
Yeah, we're ready.
Let's do this. Let's stack the deck.
When legends play, they wear Copperfit Advanced Back Pro. Copperfit's best-selling compression back support just got better with new double-band adjustable supports for customizable compression when you need it most.
Since I put this on, I feel so much better. The core is the most important thing. To know that I'm stabilized here. Whatever I'm doing, I can give it 100%.
4 built-in stabilizing supports designed to improve posture and help reduce lower back stress and strain.
You have back pain, and it's affecting your everyday life. Do something. If you can find something to help you get back out and be active, like Copperfit, go for it. Absolutely. Do not give up.
A high-performance compression fabric infused with the powerful properties of copper, 360-degree flexible mobility, and lightweight, durable construction.
Nothing more painful than having back pains. If you're aching, if you feel like you can't work out anymore, you can. And that's with Copperfit.
It's for all of us who still want to be active, still want to compete.
Way to go. That's what I'm talking about. Man, this really does feel good. It feels to me like the fountain of youth.
Copperfit's best-selling back support just got bigger, badder, and better. Call 1-800-951-0097 or on the web at advancedbackpro.com. Get yours now for only $19.99.
This does feel good.
That's what I've been saying.
You think it was fair?
It was fun.
Play for the love of the game.
Copperfit, live limitless.
Looking for name brand tires? Town Fair Tire has them all. Michelin, Goodyear, Bridgestone, Firestone, BF Goodrich, General, Uniroyal, Continental, and more. Every name brand tire at the guaranteed lowest price. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody!
Back now with your Decision 2020 coverage, 9:33 on this Election Day evening. And check it out, the 4th District in Massachusetts. And this one, at this point, doesn't appear to be all that close, although fairly early in reporting, only 13% reporting. Jake Auchincloss with 68% of the vote so far that has been counted. This could be interesting, although it does seem at this point a 2-to-1 margin here.
And our Joylyn Nakrin has been covering this race for us, and she is live at the Auchincloss campaign in Needham. And Joy, how's the campaign feeling at this point?
The pleasures of live TV, sometimes you don't get the audio in your ear, but she has been following the Auchincloss campaign, as we mentioned, a pretty big margin there. This was interesting, right, because this was in the primary where there were like 700 people running for Joe Kennedy III's seat as he tried to run for Senate against Ed Markey. Ed Markey won the primary, of course, won tonight like immediately.
Exactly.
So Auchincloss looking to kind of work his way through. He got through the big crowd, and now he's got one candidate left to beat. And it seems early on he does have a pretty substantial lead.
So we'll continue to follow that as well. And also, We're going to go out to our Brian Shackman because there's still so much to talk to him about.
Brian, I do want to focus on, if you can, Colorado, because or Colorado, as they properly pronounce it, because I thought that was an interesting state when we talked about the Senate seat, and they've already called the race on that one, right?
Yeah, so John Hickenlooper is flipping that seat, beating Cory Gardner. We don't have the graphic up there, but they also called it for Joe Biden as well. So strong blue performance there. John Hickenlooper, if you don't know him, he was mayor of Denver, governor of Colorado for 8 years. He ran for the Democratic nomination for a little while, dropped out, was strongly encouraged to run against Cory Gardner. Cory Gardner, for him, he did not vote for Donald Trump and said so in 2016. Then when Trump was elected, he turned into an ardent Trump supporter, was one of the first senators to come out in support of Donald Trump's reelection, voted for all of his Supreme Court nominees. That got him maybe in a little bit of hot water with some of the voters in Colorado, and he is out. Now, you could say, well, that's one net gain for Democrats in the Senate, but right now in Alabama, which was won by Trump already, it looks like Doug Jones is going to lose that race to Tommy Tuberville, the former coach of Auburn. So that's a net even. So this is a gain for Democrats, but a net gain in the Senate. It's not there yet. And so this is the most updated map we have, by the way. 89 electoral votes for Joe Biden, 72 for Donald Trump. We're waiting on results from a lot of different states. We're curious as to why Florida hasn't been called. And I've talked about, obviously, guys, I'm focused a lot on the Midwest and into the North Atlantic states. But yes, Colorado, Hickenlooper is in as the senator. And obviously Biden wins the state and those 9
Let's stay up there with the map behind Brian there for a second, because it's important to know, Brian, you mentioned a couple of times, if you're just tuning in now, this is as expected. There are no surprises on this current map as we see it right now. This is kind of everything we thought, and some of the big states haven't been called yet.
That is 100% correct. Nothing has been flipped. And so it's just about the trends, and we can talk so much. We can't call elections. I can't tell you what I think is going to happen. It's not responsible for me to do that. But I will tell you, I mean, Florida is leaning toward red. North Carolina, where Biden is slightly ahead, Trump has been eating away at those gains. And to explain a lot of what's going on, as some of these states pre-process the mail-in vote, the thinking is that the mail-in vote favored Biden. The day of vote favored Trump, and that's why you see these early leads and then you see the creep in terms of coming back. So that's why these early results you can't pay as much attention to. This year is different because of the pandemic and because of the incredible amount of early voting and mail-in voting. We get the results in a different way. These states, many states, were not prepared in terms of their regulations about how to deal with this, so some didn't touch the envelopes until this morning. Now, some states like Florida, they pre-process a lot of these, so when we hit this morning, they're ready to count them. But that's not the case in a slew of these states. And people, as they process how are we going to handle 2020 in terms of this election, they have to keep that stuff in mind, guys.
Yeah, and especially with Michigan and Pennsylvania, those are 2 states that people say could take a little bit of time.
All competitive states, not terribly competitive in Massachusetts when we're talking about Democrats versus Republicans here. A lot of these are kind of foregone conclusions. If Joe Kennedy III wanted to run for re-election in the House, he probably would have won handily. Instead, he ran for Senate, and that's how you get Jake Auchincloss in this race.
Exactly. So let's get back out to Joy Lim-Nakrin, and we're trying to talk to her again. And Joy, can you hear us now?
Yes, I apologize for that. I guess a technical issue. But yeah, so we're right here in Needham where we have been awaiting Jake Auchincloss, his team anticipating a win for the Democratic congressional hopeful. We heard from him earlier today. We also heard from the Republican candidate as well, Julie Hall, of course, in this 4th congressional district race. Both are military veterans. They've been battling it out for the state's only open congressional seat right now, vacated by Congressman Joe Kennedy. 32-year-old Auchincloss, a former Newton City Councilor and U.S. Marine captain who narrowly won a 7-way Democratic primary. And 62-year-old Republican Julie Hall is a former Attleboro City Councilor and U.S. Air Force Colonel. Both candidates saying that their military experience would really impact their work, but they're certainly perceived very differently.
We need to work to rebuild this country, to restore Americans' confidence in our institutions, and to make progress on core progressive priorities, to fight for racial justice, to address climate change.
I'm, all about the American values and law and order. That's very important. I think this race is about that. A lot of constituents from different countries have reached out to me and said this is why they came to this country, for these values. And they're very upset to see them change. So I'm here to keep them from changing.
So, of course, the results still being tallied tonight, a developing situation that we're going to continue to follow. But for now, we're live in Needham. Joy Lim Nakrin.
Okay, Joy, thanks so much. And now to switch gears, we got to talk to Allison King because she has been covering everything politics for much of the year.
Interesting when you talk about the Senate, though, right? Hickenlooper appears to be the winner out in Colorado. Doug Jones appears to be a loser in Alabama. So they kind of a wash there when it comes to the total numbers.
Well, that's right. You know, obviously the balance of the U.S. Senate, a huge story tonight. The Democrats need to pick up 4 seats for a 51-49 majority. About 10 states are considered at play, giving the Democrats some options. Now, here in New England, the Senate race everyone's watching is the one in Maine, where polls show Susan Collins locked in a tie with Maine Speaker of the House Sarah Gideon. If 3 seats were to flip, there would be a 50-50 divide, and Joe Biden would need to win so that Kamala Harris would be the tiebreaker if that was to flip Democratic. So while the presidential race is obviously the big story of the night, many feel that what happens in these Senate races is a very close second, and in some cases, even more important in terms of what Congress is able or not able to do over the next 4 years.
Allison, I wonder, though, is there a scenario that you've seen through pollsters or anything else where the presidency could go one way and the Senate could go the other, one Democrat, one Republican, or vice versa?
Yeah, you know, I'm not exactly sure about that, Tim, but I can tell you that, as a matter of fact, have we reported, you have just reported that John Hickenlooper won in Colorado?
He is the projected winner there, yeah.
That's correct. And as you pointed out, he kind of offsets Doug Jones, the loss there. Another seat that is very likely to flip is in Arizona, where Martha McSally is struggling to hold on to her seat against Mark Kelly. But as I said, there are several states in play with varying degrees going into this night of where they stood in the polls. So I think it's going to be, you know, interesting to see as this night plays out. Some say they could get far more than they need in order to just flip to the Democratic side.
Allison King, thank you. Arizona is interesting because Mark Kelly's lead there is about similar to what Hickenlooper had coming in, about 8 to 10% lead there. So if that holds, potentially could go blue as well. But again, we got to wait and see.
Yeah, with Biden taking Colorado as the projected winner there. So it's kind of interesting, blue. We'll see how all the other states fall throughout the night. But let's talk to Sue O'Connell because she has been talking to a lot of guests tonight. And you have one that's specifically talking about, you know, voter security tonight, which is a big issue this election season.
Right, the voter security and your ballots. Like, how safe are they that they're going to get from where you're putting them to where they're supposed to be? I'm joined again by Carol Rose from the ACLU, Massachusetts. You know, Carol, I've been thinking a lot about this idea of the lawsuits that we're having, will have, and have had, and that the candidates are going to have all these lawyers. And I imagine they'll be fighting because people voted for them, but who fights for the voters, right? Who fights to make sure that the voters get to exercise their right to vote?
Well, you know, that's where the ACLU as a nonpartisan democracy organization really steps up. And this is kind of what we were made for. And so we've been working with the Election Protection Coalition throughout Massachusetts and throughout the country all day long, deploying ordinary people out there to watch the polls, to make sure that the barriers to voting are removed. And I'm so proud of the groups here in Massachusetts. I mean, we had almost 2,000 election protection volunteers out, and we had only about 400 calls today, 600 if you include the early voting time period overall. And for the most part, all the concerns that were raised were really readily resolved, whether we were talking to the Secretary of State's office, Bill Galvin's office, or working with local poll workers who work for the cities and the towns. Everything really came together. It was really, it's been an exercise in democracy. You know, we had 4 times as many volunteers this year than we've had in any previous election. So you combine that with the huge turnout at the polls that you all have been reporting tonight. And I just think that, you know, however it turns out tonight, this is the demonstration of democracy and civic engagement throughout Massachusetts and hopefully throughout the country has really been something to see tonight. And that, I think, is news in and of itself.
I'm not a math major, and I didn't do very well in statistics, but I imagine that since we have a larger number of people voting, I think we can predict that. And we've got all these mail-in votes and different ways of voting. We'll probably have more votes rejected just because we have more votes coming in. Are there lessons that we can all learn from that? I know we've got our patchwork of how we do our elections state by state, sometimes county by county, but are there lessons that we should take away from this?
Sure. I think some of the big lessons are, first, that we need to restore the Voting Rights Act to make sure that there aren't efforts by local political officials to try to suppress the vote of certain groups who they think might not be voting for them. I think here in Massachusetts, it'd be really important to have same-day voter registration. There were a lot of people who showed up at the polls today thinking they were registered, only to find out they weren't. That was one of the complaints that we heard. And so I think that having some more uniformity, some clarity would be a really good thing for us to take away from that. And hopefully this lesson that we need to not necessarily, I know that all the stations are calling all these states based on various statistics, but I really think we need to wait until every last vote is counted. You know, in a democracy, it's that last vote. It's the voters who decide the election, not the pundits, including me.
All right, Carol Rose from the ACLU Massachusetts. Thanks so much for joining me. Back to you, Tim and Jackie.
An important point to make. Every last vote counts, and you got to count them all for those votes to count as well. Speaking of counting votes, that's what we're doing here tonight. Only a small percentage reporting, but we want to get to some of those ballot questions because it is kind of interesting. We've been talking about this a lot. Right to repair right now. The yes on right to repair at 74% with about 21% reporting. Remember, back when this passed in 2012, it was like 86%. So kind of on par from what we saw 8 years ago.
And now let's get to question 2. This is about ranked choice voting, not for presidential or municipal elections, but for statewide elections. This is with 21% reporting as well, 54% for the no, which is up to the 46% for the yes. But again, only just a little bit of the reporting still. So we are still waiting for more information as we close in on those numbers throughout the evening.
Maybe they could have added a third category if maybe you'd have ranked choice voting for the ranked choice voting. I kid. No's got the slight lead here, 54-46. We got a lot more coverage ahead. We're only 14 minutes actually, till 10 o'clock tonight. We're going to go well into the evening as the numbers continue to roll in. Stay with NECN.
Corian countertops from Bill Shays. Yep, that Bill Shays. Corian's so clean it's used in hospitals and labs. And unlike other countertops that have crevices where germs hide, Corian's non-porous, giving them no place to hide, and comes in a ton of colors that'll give your kitchen a brand new look. Call Bill Shays. Install the cleanest countertops you can put your hands on. Call the company so serious about countertops, they put it in their name. Bill Shays Countertops. Because when you say Shays, you make your new counter tops.
Stay tuned to get a free pan from Granite Stone. Stuck on eggs, burnt on batter. You can scrub and scrape, but you can't escape the nightmare of your sticky pans. Introducing the Granite Stone Pan, the all-new durable non-stick pan. No butter or oil needed. Watch, we melted down these sticky candies in Granite Stone, and it just doesn't stick. We cooked a half a dozen eggs, bacon, cheese, and tomato breakfast with no butter or oil, and it just doesn't stick. Look, caramels, chocolate, and cheese. Unreal for any other pan, but not for Granite Stone. It just doesn't stick. Granite Stone will be the last pan you'll ever need because it's pressed from a solid aluminum disc for even heat conduction. Then coated 3 times with our durable Granite Stone finish. Granite Stone is metal utensil safe and won't scratch. And talk about non-stick. This salmon cooked skin side down with no added butter or oil just doesn't stick. This steak is perfectly seared just like the pros. And because Granite Stone is oven rated to 500 degrees, we bake this upside down pan pizza to perfection, and it just doesn't stick. Fire Flambe Delicious Cherries Jubilee. Plus, it's PFOA free and 100% dishwasher safe. Call or go online to get your Granite Stone pan for the special TV discount price of just $19.99. Granite Stone is so durable it comes with a 10-year warranty. And with every order, you're going to get a Granite Stone single-serve egg pan absolutely free. It's the perfect size for personalized eggs, omelets, or frittatas that slide right out. It makes the best bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich quick. Yours absolutely free. We'll even ship your entire order free. That's right, free shipping. You get it all, an incredible value. Here's how to order.
To order, call 1-800-610-1168. That's 1-800-610-1168, or order online at buyGraniteStone.com. That's 1-800-610-1168.
9:49 on this election day evening. More polls close in just about 11 minutes. But want to go now back to Brian Shackman. Brian, you're getting some insight as the numbers start to roll in from this election from both sides of the aisle, right?
That's absolutely true. Two old friends of Primary Source. We want to bring in Rebecca Pinn, Secretary of the Young Democrats of Massachusetts, and Beth Lidstrom, of course, who ran for the Senate as a Republican in Massachusetts. First of all, thanks so much for being on with us. Rebecca, did you get demoted? You used to be the president.
I'm actually the Secretary of the Young Democrats of America.
So you got promoted. Okay, I see.
Yes.
Listen, I want to get into from both of you, and feel free to interact with each other as well. And I'll start with you, Rebecca. Just in terms of how you feel right now as a Democrat, how do you feel?
So I think there's a lot of PTSD from 4 years ago, so people are trying to stay calm. I've noticed a lot of my friends we're chatting a lot during the day, getting really excited, and now we're just waiting. We're being really cautious and nervous. So we're all trying to, and also a lot of my friends were, to get through that anxiety during the day, they were volunteering to, do something. So now that we're just waiting for the numbers, there's this feeling of, well, there's nothing I can do. I just have to wait. So we're just trying to stay calm, I think.
And Beth, what's your confidence level right now?
I would agree with Rebecca. I mean, so many people are out there nervous and they have their own motives of what they want to see happen. And we don't know. And I don't know how long it will take for us to get, the information. But I think people are nervous on all accounts.
Yeah, I think the nation is anxious no matter which side of the aisle you're on. But Beth, I'm curious, in terms of what you're focused on, Beth, for me, the last hour and a half, I'm really sort of laser focused on this Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. What are you looking at right now, Beth?
Well, I think you're right. These states that we don't know, the Wisconsin, Michigan, Texas, Florida, the same states that could, tell us something different. If Texas goes blue, that's a big problem for President Trump. Right now, Florida seems to be on the red. And I think this is what, you have these states, North Carolina, you have Pennsylvania. Again, as you said, they counted their votes this morning. So there's a lot of anxiety and one could go one way and that could make a domino effect. Right. On the numbers. So it's nerve-wracking. Yeah,
every battleground state seemed to fall Trump's way in 2016. I will tell you, in Texas, Trump has pulled ahead a little bit. We'll talk about that more in depth in the next hour. How about you, Rebecca, in terms of the focus? What are you looking at that's going to either make you go, have a gut punch or feel really good?
Pennsylvania. So I have a lot of friends who are young Dems from Pennsylvania who I've been contacting and trying to get more information from. Obviously, Texas is really exciting. But thinking back to the question of how I'm staying calm, I'm actually trying to really stay focused on what's going on in Massachusetts as well. We have some really interesting races and some great young Dems running who I'd like to see reelected, like Trom Wynn, Natalie Higgins, Becca Rausch in the state Senate. So I'm trying to, yes, there's national politics, but we also have a lot going on in Massachusetts as well to focus on.
Listen, it's great to see you both. Glad you're doing well, Rebecca. Sorry, I underplayed the position. It's very funny, though. Both of you, good luck the rest of the night, and just breathe easy. Breathe easy.
That was great advice.
We will, Brian.
That was great advice, Brian. All politics is local, so maybe focusing on the local first before people have anxiety about the national race.
One thing we could all agree on, we're all anxious. We all got a little bit of stress on this evening. Listen, the evening is just getting started, 9:52. More polls close at 10 o'clock, and numbers continue to come in. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The most up-to-date news on the coronavirus pandemic all in one place. The facts and information that affect your health, safety, and wallet, updated daily. Plus, we're sharing the stories of the selfless people on the front lines. Scan the QR code and sign up for the NECN newsletter.
It's cool to cover your face. Fight COVID-19. Save lives. Wear a mask. We are. And you can too.
Do you have a coffee smile? Drinking coffee causes yellow teeth for thousands of people just like you, and whitening toothpaste just doesn't make those stains go away. Introducing Power Swabs, the first teeth whitening system that lifts coffee stains off your teeth in less than 5 minutes without whitening strips or trays. The secret is a tooth detergent and whitening agent developed by Dr. Martin Ginniker that lifts stains off of your teeth. Power Swabs remove stains on natural teeth, veneers, bonding, caps, and crowns. The best part is you just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you'll have whiter teeth. No more sitting at home with a whitening strip or tray in your mouth for 30 minutes twice a day. Call for your 5-minute solution to whiter teeth. Get a beautiful smile this Thanksgiving with a 40% off discount. Plus, get free shipping and a free Quick Stick pen. Visit powerswabs.com or call the number on your screen.
Brett Favre, legendary quarterback. Jerry Rice, legendary wide receiver. When legends play, they wear CopperFit Advanced Back Pro. CopperFit's best-selling compression back support just got better with new double-band adjustable supports for customizable compression when you need it most.
That's what I'm talking about.
4 built-in stabilizing supports designed to improve posture and help reduce lower back stress and strain.
You have back pain and it's affecting your everyday life. Do something.
Since I put this on, I feel so much better. The core is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
To know that I'm stabilized here. Whatever I'm doing, I can give it 100%.
Call 1-800-979-8521 or on the web at advancedbackpro.com for only $19.99.
This does feel good.
That's what I've been saying.
You think it was fair?
It was fun. CopperFit, live limitless.
Welcome back to our Decision 2020 coverage. Vermont decided early in the presidential election, went with Biden.
Yeah, those 3 electoral votes went real quick. Still plenty of races to be decided on the state level. Jack, what's the latest from up there? Jack Thurston following it all with the beautiful Christmas lights behind you, too.
All season lights here, Tim. A couple things to tell you about. One, the governor's race. It went for Phil Scott, the incumbent. It's his 3rd term that he just won. That was really a referendum on his handling of the coronavirus here in the state. And apparently the voters had no reason to throw out the incumbent because he won by really, really huge margins, possibly his largest ever in his career. Also, our lone member of the U.S. House, Peter Welch, he won his 8th term in Congress, and in a one-on-one interview with me today, he said that this is a time to call for civility across the nation. Hear what he had to say.
Well, I think they're very good. This election really is a referendum on Donald Trump, but it is an opportunity, and I think Vice President Biden has done an excellent job to remember that we are all in this together. And the Vermont way is that, yes, you have differences with people, but you respect them. My view and my effort is to bring that Vermont spirit to Washington, where we're in huge need of it.
And Governor Phil Scott had a very similar spirit in his acceptance address that he posted to YouTube tonight. That's the nature of campaigning during the coronavirus, of course. There's another race that we're watching, that for lieutenant governor. We've been telling you for days that that was going to be the one to watch. It's still too close to call. Tim and Jackie.
Jack Thurston with maybe the most beautiful background of all the live shots we've seen tonight. Our team coverage of Decision 2020 continues ahead at 10 o'clock.
It sure does, so don't go anywhere. You're watching NECN, New England's Connection. Join us as we hit the 10 o'clock hour in just a few minutes.
For all your election night coverage, count on NECN, New England's Connection.
Oh no, you hate coming home to a dark house, and you're uptight about noises outside in the night. Outdoor lighting systems cost a fortune, and leaving lights on all night drives utility bills out of sight. You need the Bell & Howell Bionic Spotlight, the outdoor motion sensor light that is motion activated, so it automatically turns on the instant motion is detected and turns off when the motion stops. Bionic Spotlight is solar powered, so there's no expensive wiring or batteries to change. Simply place it where the solar panel can soak up the sun, and you're done. The panel collects the sun's energy to charge all day, so it has the power to provide light when and where you need it all night. Bionic Spotlight looks just like a professional security camera that is actually a high-tech security light with smart motion sensing technology. Look, the instant the motion sensor detects movement, Bionic Spotlight triggers 8 high-intensity LED lights that shower the entire area with light, covering over 600 square feet. The light stays on for as long as the motion continues, and then shuts off 30 seconds after it stops, so there's no more arriving home to a dark house. Illuminate walkways and stairwells for visitors and guests. Light up your garden at night or the yard for kids and pets. Add Bionic Spotlight to your sports court and to help secure outbuildings and storage sheds. So you can spend hundreds of dollars on an outdoor lighting system, or you can save hundreds of dollars